Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
Good evening out there, everybody. I am Ben Dickerson. I'm the co-host of the show, and I am ready for some football.
Ready for some football? Well, you got about a week left, Mr. Ben. We have a number of things that we're going to go over today. I actually sent you a written agenda. You probably didn't know what that was. It was like, what is this foreign-looking object that this guy sent me? It's an actual agenda, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about. But let's kick this off where we normally do. So what we're going to look at is discuss. How's that look? Can you see that okay?
Yes, I can.
All right. That gentleman right there, Jason Wright, is now working for the Washington football team, and he's been brought in to help them get their football operation right. You remember him as a player?
I kind of remember his name. It didn't occur to me what team he played on. But as soon as I saw San Francisco 49ers, it kind of jogged my memory a little bit. Yeah, I kind of remember. He was a running back, right?
He was a running back, yeah. Played in the NFL. Niners signed him as an undrafted free agent. 2000.
Yeah, he was a fair to midland type of player. Didn't make a whole lot of noise.
Went back to school, got his master's, and apparently, he's been involved enough that they really seem to like him. So he's been brought in to help them get their operation together. We have a specific relationship with what's now called the Washington football team. For a while, well, for at least the last 2 years, we refused to use their nickname, and we called them the Washington team that needs to change their name. The funny thing now is they've actually changed their name. They ran into complications because enough forward-thinking, is that the word I'm looking for? People looked and said, oh, what could they change their name to? And stole all of these names and copyrighted all these names. So now it left them sort of in a quandary where maybe they might have thought about this or that. Somebody's already snatched this up, right? I'm sure they would sell it to them for a nice hefty fee. So they went with.
I'm sure that's why they did it.
Huh?
And I'm sure that's why they did it.
Absolutely. It was the profit motive at work, big time in the capitalistic system. I guess I kind of wish I had a thought about it, but I don't think in terms of that so much. I'm not so much a person who wants to exploit a situation. But long story short, they decided to go with the Washington football team. So my question to you is, should we still call them the Washington team that needs to change their name?
No. I think we can now retire that unless they come up with some other stupid name that we don't like, and then we can decide if we want to bring it back or not.
Bring it back.
No, they did the safest thing they could do and just call themselves the Washington football team, and I have no problem with that.
I actually like that name, to be quite honest with you.
Well, do you have any ideas for them?
No, absolutely not. No? I've given it zero thought. That's their problem to figure out. If they give me a financial stake, I'll work really hard to find something for them.
I mean, I know one that would fit great, but it'll probably cost them money, and that's the Washington Sentinels. But that was the name of a team that was in a movie.
Oh, so, yeah. You're really gonna.
So that's gonna cost them.
That's gonna cost them big time. And I'm sure if we go back in history, because the NFL went through a number of iterations before they became the NFL, and a lot of teams had different names. So there might actually be a throwback name that they could snatch up that maybe not being used or something like that. You don't like that idea?
I'm not real keen on that idea, nor do I think they'll find anything appropriate.
Really?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, again, I like the Washington football team. I don't have a problem with that. Um, we'll see just how that works out for them. But so far so good. Also, in the news recently, I understand that where they had their allegations of sexual misconduct, they had hired an attorney to do the investigation. A lot of people kind of questioned it, that, okay, if you're hiring the attorney, you know, is he really going to find something wrong if you're paying him,
And if he does, is it ever going to come out?
You know what I'm saying? So it was just reported recently that the NFL is going to take over that investigation, and he's agreed to
I think that's a
that.
good idea.
Um, so, Dan Snyder as the owner, Kyle Smith as the vice president of player personnel. They really didn't have a GM when I took a look at them, somebody with that specific title. So I went with player personnel. And then you have the news about Ron Rivera, the head coach, who brought a lot of credibility to them. So between Jason Wright, Ron Rivera, they were bringing a lot of credibility to their team. He, announced that he had a lymphoma cancer. So, he's going to be dealing with that, through the season. And then you've got the return of Alex Smith from one of the worst breaks.
They had a little documentary about him, I think, on E60. Man, that was grisly. What happened to his leg? I mean, it was really, really grisly, man. It's a wonder that he can even walk without that massive. When people like break their necks or they have this really bad head trauma and they put him in one of those halo things.
Yeah.
That's what he looked like he had for his leg.
He did.
Halo. Yeah, exactly. And they had to put the pins in and screw the rods in and all that. Yeah, that was crazy. So I'm wishing him the best. People are already putting his name out there as a possible comeback player of the year. Only thing about that is you have to actually play to get that award. And I don't know if he's going to be able to overtake Dwayne Haskins. Not that that would be a monumental task, because you know how I feel about Dwayne Haskins. But yeah, I'd love to see Alex Smith be able to actually get back on the field and play. I'm sure he would be thrilled about that, as probably more than I would. Before we get into something else, and believe me, this is a plethora of stuff going on with the Washington team right now. You just named several things. But I want to get back to the first one, and that's Mr. Wright. When I saw the post on our Facebook page, by the way, thank you very much, I quickly shared it to our Flag League page. And I didn't get many comments. Most of the guys on there are young. They don't, they barely watch they're into Madden. They think Madden is real life, and the NFL that comes on TV only exists if the Eagles are playing. So they're like in this netherworld somewhere. I don't understand how they do it. But anyway, I put on there, I said, hey, this is kind of a really big deal, isn't it? And hardly anybody said anything. And a couple people said yes. And then somebody said, and I'm paraphrasing, but in essence, it was something to say along the lines of they kind of had to do it. They had to hire a black guy. They're in so much trouble with everything else, with the sexual misconduct and the having to change the name and all those other things, that it was sort of kind of like a token. I didn't agree with that. And the reason I don't agree with that is they made him the president of the team. Okay? He's the team president. He's in charge of business operations, financing, and marketing strategies. Okay? You just don't pluck some dude off the street and put him in a suit and make him president of your NFL football team. So this guy's got credentials, and I hope and pray that he does really well. Not that I want to see the Redskins do really well. Oh, see? I did so well. I went for months without saying that. Months. But not that I want to see Washington do really well. Obviously, I'm a Giants fan, but I hope that he is successful in his job. I really do. And again, we're always talking about the number of black head coaches or the number of non-white coaches, let me put it that way, front office people, assistants, coordinators. Well, now we got a team president, and I think that's great. And I don't care why they picked him. Part of the reason is because they believe this guy's going to do a good job. So I'll leave that there and keep my fingers crossed for him.
Okay, we'll leave that there. Let's go to Mr. It's really funny, man. The Eagles have been blown away by Mr. Hurts' athleticism. And it really makes you wonder, because between the Eagles and the Packers, where they brought in these really athletic young quarterbacks in situations where the starter is pretty much a known entity, not like they're bringing in a new guy, there's a new guy and everybody's sort of on an even keel. But these guys have real athleticism, and in the Eagles' case with Carson Wentz's history, he might actually see some playing time. I know he's got a soft tissue injury right now. Let me throw out that I'm gonna make a statement right here. Normally, injuries play a part in any season. This year, the medical report between COVID and injury, I think, is going to have a bigger impact than ever before. Guys are not even making it out of these preseason well. And I mean, we're talking hammies and groins and tissue injuries and knees. And I keep getting all of these alerts every time somebody is out. I looked at my own Niners. 3 of my defensive linemen are questionable at this particular point. So it's going to be real interesting as we rank the teams, as we look up. And that's where the Sterling Net Point Power Ranking is going to be what it is. It's going to be a real factor, because, whatever they're scoring, that's going to be your signal as to what kind of team they're actually able to field, So it's going to be very interesting. But what do you think about Mr. Hurts?
Jalen Hurts. I like Jalen Hurts. He was a really good college player, but not all good college players become really good professional players, at least not in the NFL. However, that caption above his picture that you had put up there also said not only are they in love with his athleticism, but also with his intelligence. And I think that's a big deal. I mean, let's face it. When you talk about big-time college football, it doesn't get much bigger than Alabama, and then he transferred to Oklahoma. So I expect him to be very well-versed in reading defenses, although there'll still be a learning curve because NFL defenses are a little bit different, and obviously the talent level is different. But I expect him to adapt pretty well, and I would say that if, in fact, that's not just a smokescreen that they're throwing out there, or that they're just praising him to make somebody feel better, I believe that Carson Wentz will probably be traded within the next 3 years. So although you haven't heard the same kind of talk coming out of the facility down in NovaCare as you've had coming out of the facility up in Green Bay, where people immediately felt like Aaron Rodgers should feel threatened for some reason, even though of the top 10 quarterbacks, and I assume Jordan Love came in there somewhere in that top 10, he's probably the biggest project out of all of them. So I don't know why Aaron really would be worried, and obviously he said he wasn't. Carson Wentz, on the other hand, I mean, as long as he can stay healthy and stay on the field, he's probably safe. But he can't afford to get knocked out mid-season, end of the season, playoff, whatever, like he did before. Because if, in fact, this is not a smokescreen, that they really do love his athleticism, which what's not to love, and love his intelligence, and he's coming along, and he's making the best of the reps that he gets in practice and all that. At this point, as much as I hate preseason games, I would have loved to have at least one preseason game just to get a little look at him. But, yeah, Carson Wentz better start. He better watch himself.
All right, Carson Wentz, you've been told. All right, now, this is a little more fun. Did you take a look at this video? Where I said this one?
Yeah, this the one where he threw the crazy pass falling down or something, or side
All right, let's take a quick look.
Yeah, he just turned and flung it, and it was right on the money.
It keeps going all the way to the end zone. I didn't know if it was a 20-yard or 30-yard, and I'm like, how far did he just throw that thing?
Yeah.
Which to me is hilarious because he ran in the opposite direction, spun, got his body just right. So did you get a chance to see? We're going to talk a little bit about the ring that they got a little later, but that arm's going to be a problem, man. That arm is a problem for all the NFL. Let me just let y'all know that right now. The injury thing, I mentioned earlier, I made my statement, but you do fantasy. So how is fantasy handling all of these injuries and this long list of questionable players right now? Matter of fact, you got fantasy drafts tonight, right?
Yeah, I have two of them tonight. First of all, they keep you informed on the websites, regardless of whether you're on NFL, ESPN, CBS, Yahoo, whatever. They give all the players a designation of some sort or no designation at all, meaning that they are completely healthy and they're expected to play. If they are injured to the point where they can't play, it'll tell you that. If they're doubtful because maybe they're coming off of an injury and they didn't practice, they'll tell you that. If they're probable because they're coming off of an injury, but they're looking pretty good and maybe they practice for a day or two, all the way up to completely active. So they keep you very well informed so that you don't make the mistake if you're, unless you just blow it and play somebody who's injured and then they don't play and then you get no points for that position. Okay.
How does that affect your defenses when, does it really move the needle?
No.
For example, Earl Thomas leaves the Ravens. Did the needle move on the Ravens defense?
Nope.
No, not at all?
Nope.
Wow.
In fantasy, you get the points for anything that the entire defense does, along with special teams. So blocked kicks, punt returns for touchdowns, kickoff returns for touchdowns, they all count toward the defense.
Are these stats coming from last year like we did with the net point power rankings, or where are they used? What stats are they drawing from for all of this in the preseason?
Well, yeah, they use the previous season stats,
okay,
along with projections, and that's the difference between our rankings and the other rankings. Our rankings are purely fact, purely off the numbers, where they add some speculation and some projection, maybe because now that is where a key player getting traded, opting out, getting injured, or maybe signing a key player at a key position could make a difference and could move the needle as far as the defense is concerned. But it'd have to be like a shutdown corner. Like the Rams defense, I didn't think was very good. I forget exactly what they were ranked. And as soon as they got Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald's healthy, and they got somebody else, another key player who I can't quite remember who it was. And now they're ranked like top 5 in defenses. So in that respect, players did move the needle, although I'd say it's more than one. You know, the Ravens defense isn't going to change much without him. He's not that he wasn't good. I just think he's replaceable.
Replaceable, eh?
Yep.
Okay. That's, he's a guy that, now, are you thinking that more so because of how old he is or anything? Because he was a sideline to sideline playmaker,
Yeah, but was he a sideline to sideline playmaker last year?
That's a good question. I don't know.
You know how the NFL is, man. So what have you done for me lately? So if he showed regression last year, but not enough where they would want to ship him out, but he did show some, and then he gets there this year, gets into camp, is fighting people. Who knows what else? That one thing is not why they let him go. He probably took something off of somebody's plate in the lunchroom. Who knows what he did?
Oh, I understand he had some discipline, some lateness issues, and some
that
issues
too.
and stuff like that.
You can only do so much. Everybody's got a leash, and his leash probably got a little teeny bit shorter after last year when they realized that we brought the guy in. He's still a really good player, but he's not a great player anymore. And this year, he's a year older, and he's a pain in everybody's butt. And they looked at the money. The money's always part of it.
And I'm sure that they looked at someone to replace him. Any idea who that is at this point?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't dig that far. They'll come up with something. They don't necessarily have to bring anybody in free agency, I don't think, for that job. They drafted some DBs. They'll be all right.
Okay. No, that not a problem. All right. Let's get back to the page. There was a situation with the NFL where they all of a sudden started coming up with test results that just didn't look right. And I had to give them, they had false positives. They had all of these positives, and it was out of whack with their numbers. Right. And I had to give them credit that they had enough of a database on testing that the results that they were getting back, when they fed that into their database, it showed things were out of normal. Something was
it set off an alarm, which is good.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
I mean, I was just like, wow, that's where we need to be as a nation. Did I tell you I went and got tested?
Yes.
Still haven't gotten my results. It's like a week.
Oh, well.
It's like a week, man. I mean,
Trust me, you'll be negative.
As my son says, you live a quarantine life. So.
Yeah, you do.
Hey, look, I went to the dentist. My dentist is a friend of mine from high school, right? She's married to another dentist, right? They have their little practice. You know what I'm talking about, right? She is an outgoing person, so she's riding her bike. She's still doing this. She's still doing that. He's like, he ain't trying to do none of that stuff. So you got two doctors of dentistry with two different takes on how much they want to be involved out there in this situation, whether they want to be quarantined or and how much of a quarantine life that they live. So he's more like me. She's more like, well, Crystal doesn't do a whole bunch, but you know, she's a little more out there, just a little bit more. All right, Benny, I had to show this, not so much just because of the history that Nick Foles made when he scored the 7 touchdowns, but because of the names that surrounded him when this happened. And I had to ask, you know, what did people think? Did they think that at this particular point, while that runs, but I started listening to the names that came up while he was doing this, and it was just it was historic. I was like, man, I hadn't thought about what that team actually looked like when he had that game. So let's quickly share the screen here and take a quick look at the video. Full screen, you see that okay?
Yeah.
Let's take a quick look. Brent Selleck. Riley Cooper. You would have thought Riley Cooper was Randy Moss out there. Now, you got Chip Kelly. Riley Cooper's killing the Raiders. Of all people. 300 yards. You got Michael Vick on the sideline watching the game. Zach Ertz rookie year. Shady. That's a heck of a team. Especially if Riley Cooper's getting away with what he's getting away with. You put a real serious receiver in there. And who's that?
Wait. That's Deshaun. Can you turn this mess off? This is ridiculous. First of all, you see how wide open these guys are?
What was the Raiders smoking?
Don't tell me how good a team that Eagles team was. Tell me how
They had a lot of talent.
Tell me how bad that Raiders team was. Holy smokes. Come on, man.
They had a lot of talent, man.
Please stop. Did that team go
Hey,
to the Super
hold.
Bowl?
LaShawn McCoy.
Did that team go to the Super Bowl?
No,
exactly.
they
Okay.
had no talent.
When
But
did
that
they
was
go
what
to
I
the
was
Super
saying.
Bowl?
After a game like that, I was just wondering where people's heads were they're thinking, man, you know, we really, you know, success looks evident, you know, with this backup coming in and having a 7 touchdown game. That had to like really mess with people's head.
It probably did. And to a certain extent, for most Eagles players, or most Eagles fans rather, it probably, they were just going crazy, not considering that they're playing an Oakland Raiders team that was extremely bad. Did you see how open those guys were? That's terrible. Come on, man. You can't get credit for that. My thing,
Wait, hold.
I don't want to down Nick Foles, but I think that you're going way overboard with this particular game. What is the point of this?
It's a historic day.
In one game.
7 touchdowns is a big day. And
yeah, it's a big day. Okay, is that it?
with a backup quarterback.
Right.
But again, the main thing that I was looking at the players around. Riley Cooper aside for a second. Brent Selleck, Ertz, Shady McCoy, Deshaun Jackson. Lots of talent, you know, lots of names there. And those names, Deshaun's back with the Eagles now. LaShawn is in Tampa Bay with Tom Brady, right? Am I correct with that?
Yeah, he'll be sitting the bench.
All right, let's move on to a little more fun. Now you know
I
this.
wasted 5 minutes out of my time that I'll never get back.
Stop hating. Stop hating. Did you see the any of the Super Bowl ring presentation?
No.
Look at the size of this thing.
They're all big like that, bro.
Such a hater. Such a hater. Let me stop this guy here.
All Super Bowl rings are big.
Huh?
All Super Bowl rings are big. The Eagles ring is the same size.
It look extra big on him. I know it's a big ring. Our friend runs around with the ring showing all the time. Like it's a regular ring and everybody is there. But it was a nice ring. It was a nice ring, as a matter of fact. So that's it. That's just an up close view of the ring. And Patrick Mahomes proposed to his girlfriend and gave her a ring. I think the ring he gave her was almost as big as this ring with the diamonds that was on that thing. So